This is by far too close. This is by far too close in any universe. I don't think anybody wants to see anybody this close. It's almost like I'm like all up in your personal space. I kind of feel like you're in mine. So this segment will probably get cut out, but UFC 154 is just around the corner with Condit and goddamn Sleeping Pill. GSP has put out several statements saying that he doesn't. He did lose the fire and the flame, the desire to fight and train like a champion. So he wants to bring back Rush. He wants to leave GSP behind him and bring Rush back. The one that Matt Serra knocked out of him. So he wants to bring that guy back into the cage, and Carlos Condit is going to be, in my opinion, I think he's going to come guns blazing, probably the most fierce we've ever seen Condit. We're going to see. We're going to see Condit pull out all the stops to get that belt. He already has it. George has said publicly, and I quote, "I consider myself the challenger and Carlos Condit the welterweight champion right now." And as humble as that sounds, it's been George's. To me, it's just Nick Diaz said it, and he had the balls enough to say it out loud. He didn't think George was hurt. He thought he was scared to fight, and I agreed with him. I agreed with Nick Diaz then, and this long layoff's gonna hurt him, and I just there's no reason in the world why Condit can't win this fight. He's not that much of an underdog. He's certainly no Matt Serra. He's about a 2.5 or 3-1 underdog, and that's because it's GSP, man. He's ranked number 3 pound for pound in the world. He's God, how many title defenses in a row? It's countless, but they've all been decisions. The last 5 fights, his last 5 title defenses have been by decision. He couldn't submit a white belt in Dan Hardy, and he couldn't knock out a one-eyed Josh Koscheck. To me, that's no number 3 pound for pound best fighter in the world, and it certainly is no welterweight champion. He does what he needs to do to hold on to that belt, and that's it. That's not championship material. Carlos Condit to me would make a much better fit. His striking, his solid ground game, he's an experienced champion himself, in his own right. I think he was ROTC champion and WEC. He dominated the welterweight division in the WEC, the scaled down blue cage on Versus. And I missed my WEC. That was actually, I preferred it over the UFC. And Carlos Condit was very, very dominant and actually avenged a couple losses, won a couple of rematches in his stint as champion in the WEC. Then when it was absorbed into the UFC, he just didn't seem to shine quite as bright, and that happened to quite a few people, especially the Pride guys. And I think that's one of Dana's big downfalls, is sucking everyone into the UFC. I think he really should have kept Pride alive, But hey, man, it's my opinion. So that's just a short little clip about what I think, about George St-Pierre. This long layoff, he's saying he wants to bring back the way it used to be. I remember the axe kicks, and if he'd take a shot, he'd take a shot. But he preferred to stand. He has the best Superman punch in the game. Rarely uses it. I want to see it utilized. I want to see it done. I want to see him get the job done. That's what I want to see out of GSP. If I get a decision, then to me, I just won't watch him ever again. To me, he's not a peas in the eye. He's not fun to watch. He comes out in either PJs. I want to see him come out in a singlet and fucking earmuffs, because that's all he does is fucking wrestle. Take you to the ground, hold you there, and pray to God that a submission rears its ugly head and tries to get it. So Carlos Condit is the exact opposite. He's a killer, man. He's a natural-born killer, and he will go after. If he smells blood or sees an opening, he will go for it. Look at the flying knee he laid on Dong Young Kim. Do you think Dong Young Kim, listen, trust me, he trained for that fight. He did not see that knee coming. Carlos set it up beautifully, wonderfully, and knocked him out. Set him up for title contention. So, yeah, I went from being, UFC 150 bore, I used to call it, to, semi-interested, because, if Carlos Condit pulls off this upset, what does that mean for Diaz? A, what's that mean for Diaz in February? And B, GSP just lost. So I mean, for the first time in years, GSP just lost. And if he does lose it even if it's by decision, it's well deserved. I'm a huge believer in karma. That's why I like Nate Diaz over Benson Henderson. I think they really he got a present with a card with money in it last time with that fucking split decision. That was terrible, terrible what they did to Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar, he won his belt back. And but again, I get to see my fight. I get to see Edgar versus Aldo, and I get to see Diaz and Henderson. Those are the two fights I won, so I'm going to get to see them. But first, 10 days or so from now, we're going to see George St-Pierre step back into the octagon after almost a 2-year layoff, and can't wait to see what happens. And believe me, as soon as it does, I'll be on here. So make sure you check me out, subscribe, like, dislike, but make sure you comment. Let me know what you're doing. Take care of each other, guys.